After lie has been told about me. My entire life, I've been misunderstood. You are the very fortunate young sports writer who has been chosen to tell the true story.
Tommy Lee Jones plays Ty Cobb, the toughest baseball player of all time, and many say the greatest. In Cobb, a very different kind of film biography, and one of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert, along with a comedy in which Nicolas Cage has to take care of 2 dim-witted brothers, Saturday Night Live's Dana Carvey and John Lovitz, and also the story of Nostradamus, who foresaw events hundreds of years in the future. Was he a fake? I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Yes, he was a fake. Our first movie is Cobb, which deals with the last months on Earth of a man who was the greatest baseball player of all time and also one of the greatest SOBs. A vicious, mean-spirited, drunken, violent, racist, and rapist psychopath who was so hated in the world of baseball that even at the Cooperstown Hall of Fame, the other members locked him out of the parties they were holding in their hotel rooms. As the movie opens, Cobb has hired a sports writer named Al Stump to write his life story, which he envisions as a heroic tale with all the unpleasant parts left out.
You can't call yourself a prince and a great man. That's for the world.
What the hell kind of damn writer you call yourself all tied up in rules and regulations? What's the point of being a writer? You can't say what you want to say.
You're not treating me like a writer. You're treating me like a stenographer.
That's Tommy Lee Jones in one of his best performances as Ty Cobb and Robert Wool as the would-be autobiographer. They go on the road together, Cobb dictating his story while the writer becomes increasingly disillusioned by the reality that's sitting right next to him.
I didn't care that they loved and cheered and adored Babe Ruth. I did care that they respected his ball playing. They built Yankee Stadium for him with a 297-foot right field line. My sister Florence could hit the ball 297 feet.
Oh, come on, Ty. Aren't you going to give Ruth credit for anything?
He ran okay for a fat man.
During a stopover in Reno, Cobb knocks Stump unconscious, grabs his girl, yanks her into his room, and prepares to rape her.
What's that?
It's my hair.
Put it back on. That's better.
That's Lolita Davidovich as the assault victim. As time goes on, the writer becomes chauffeur and nursemaid, and Cobb's condition worsens prior to the Hall of Fame dinner in his honor.
You've got to have your cane.
I don't have to have anything. You'll help me out. In case I wobble, something like that, you put a hand here, you over here, you keep me upright, I'm gonna be all right.
The movie's weak point is the character of the sports writer, Stump, who puts up with incredible abuse and comes back for more. It's as if the story needs the character but doesn't know where to go with him. And since Stump obviously doesn't know what to make of Ty Cobb, in the last analysis, we don't either. I admire the Jones performance in the movie and some of the craftsmanship, but Cobb never convinced me it knew why it had to be made.
Gee, Roger, I think you missed the point of the picture, was that very clearly the Al Stump writer character is, and Ron Shelton in this whole project, is taking away the myth that covers the man in all sports. And with current events going on right now, I think that it's really a welcome picture. I think that it's so obvious here that we're seeing myth deconstructed right down the line. I think it's sitting right there in front of you.
Stump doesn't deconstruct the myth. The last scene of the movie, he says he decided to print the lie because he needed Cobb to be a hero.
Right.
And the mystery that I have, and I'm sure you can't answer this,
Go right ahead.
What has Stump seen, or what have we seen in that movie that would allow Stump to even think of Ty Cobb as a hero?
The first thing is, he is enough of a writer to tell us that he lied when his original article came out in a man's magazine back in the 50s, which I read.
In his original book.
And he has since written the truth in a new book, and
yeah, but that is stuff that you know that isn't in the movie. Nothing about the new book is in the movie.
But I mean, I just know
This
that.
entire movie is over in 1961. The fact that you know it means nothing.
No,
I'm reviewing the movie. I'm not reviewing the real Al Stump. There's nothing in this movie to account for that.
No, he says so. He talks about himself and what it is like that he helped create a myth. All of these sports writers create and guard myths.
Because he needed a hero. Now, my second question. What in the world about Ty Cobb would make him think of him as a hero?
He says it at, you just answered the question, he says it at the time, in the 60s, that he wrote him as a hero because of his competitiveness and because of his great achievements on the field. And lots of kids bought into it, including me, who I
never
revere.
Says that in the movie. What you're doing is you're taking all this hindsight and all of your theories about Ty. If you look at this movie, you can't tell me why the character is likable, why anybody wanted him to be a hero, or what the point of view of the movie is.
You think that Al Stump thinks the guy is likable? He thinks he's charismatic in some wild way. He never says that he's likable.
Well, I think that one of us missed the point of the movie. Anyway.
I think that's real clear. Okay, next film, and it's Tom and Viv, a brilliant drama about the private married life of the great man of letters, Nobel Prize-winning poet T.S. Eliot. Based on a celebrated play by Michael Hastings, this is the story of both Tom, the American, Eliot, and his first wife, Viv, the daughter of British gentry. Eliot, the play argues, wanted to be as British as he could be, and that inspired his choice of a wife. Willem Dafoe is Tom, Miranda Richardson is Viv.
I want to live in Europe and write poetry. I love you. I love you more than life itself.
But Viv has a medical problem that causes wild emotional swings. She can get very violent, but her parents and Tom cover it up as best they can. Rosemary Harris plays her mother.
Before Vivian rushed you headlong into this, did she tell you anything? Nothing? Nothing at all?
As Tom's fame increases, Viv's condition threatens to become a scandal, and the local bishop attempts to intervene.
Oh, I see. You're up there. Well, if you like, I could go up to the roof and see how long I could dangle in here.
If I'm intruding in any
Not
way.
at all. I believe the sale is still on at Selfridges.
I thought we were working on your poems today, Tom.
Pushed to the limit, Tom realizes that he must call in some doctors and at least consider institutionalizing Viv.
They need to come in and ask you a few questions.
You won't let them take me away from you, Tom.
Both Willem Dafoe and Miranda Richardson are superb in this film, a drama that wants to expose the way men and women were treated differently by English society during the first half of this century. But that's just part of what makes Tom and Viv so good. I also enjoy this picture as a portrait of a marriage and a family and the way that serious behavioral problems are often overlooked, excused, and worked around to the point of being abusive to all concerned. I really felt as though I was watching True Lives in Tom and Viv, a most impressive new film, just opening in New York now and the rest of the country in January.
The movie didn't work that well for me, Gene, and I'll tell you why. One of the problems that I had all through the movie was that the relationship between this man and this woman is a complete enigma. And it starts out that way. We never understand why this shy and emotionally backward man is attracted to this woman or what he sees in her. They get married before he could possibly ever know what he's getting into.
I think that happens to a lot of different people, and it probably happened more in the early part of this century than it does right now. I think it's also very clear the film establishes it very well that the reason why he wants to marry her is because she's part of English society, and that's what he wants to buy into.
Don't you feel, though, that Willem Dafoe in playing T.S. Eliot is so opaque, and the script is so opaque, that we never really understand exactly what his motivations are, and that, in fact, he is a complete monster in sending this woman away for 11 years, till she dies, never even talking to her for the last 10 years of her incarceration, even though really she has done nothing wrong except to fall victim of the setup that this society has for hysterical women.
Well, what you've given is not a bad précis of the movie, and so what's wrong with it?
Well, because I never understood who these people were and why they were behaving
I think you
in this
just described it very well, that he is a monster. That's the hard charge of this movie and the hard charge of the play, which caused quite a sensation in England.
I know, well, of course, but there's more than one side to the story. But the thing is, in the movie, I keep feeling that I'm looking at the outsides of these people.
I'm never
really
involved
understanding
in this family.
how they really get involved.
I'm telling you that this family relationship and how they tolerate and hide what's going on, the secret of a family, that's a story that's eternal and constant and modern. I thought it was very well done. When we come back, Nicolas Cage, John Lovitz, and Dana Carvey play three crooks who spend Christmas Eve trapped in paradise.
I just robbed these people. I don't want to get to know them, all right?
Alvin Purple, you have been labeled a kleptomaniac.
Calvin.
That's John Lovitz and Dana Carvey as two brothers appearing before their parole board in Trapped in Paradise. And boy, am I glad I didn't finish my list of the year's worst films before I saw this one. It's so bad it approaches a state of total inertia. The movie occasionally seems to shake itself awake and try again, but it's about nothing and it's about nobody, and it's a comedy only in the wildest dreams of the people connected with it. When the convicts get out of prison, they're met by a third brother, played by Nicolas Cage. He has managed to go straight so far in life.
Whatever it is that you want me to do, the answer's no.
Does that apply to me too, Bill?
No, I got no beef with you.
You sure?
Yes.
Because I wouldn't want you to be pissed at me.
No, you're fine.
Really, there's no problem between us?
There's starting to be.
Through plot twists too boring to explain, they end up in Pennsylvania casing a potential bank for robbery. The Carvey character is a kleptomaniac who can't keep his hands off the free pens.
Excuse me. Those are for the children. And you know, the sign says take a pen, not take all the pens.
And that's Machen Amick as the watchful bank employee. Through still more coincidences, after they rob the bank, the brothers end up as guests in the house of the kindly bank president who shames them with his family's generosity.
We can't do this. These are from your wife, obviously.
That's right. Yes, that's right. Now I'm giving them to you. Merry Christmas, boys.
Trapped in Paradise is dead in the water right from its first scenes, with Carvey producing an obnoxious twerp accent and Lovitz able to be obnoxious even without the accent. The plot is absurd, but even worse, it's exhausted. There are times when everyone in this movie seems to want to curl up and die or go out for a sandwich, and only sheer professionalism or a paycheck keeps them plugging away at a screenplay as contrived as it is stupid. You want to see a movie about crooks in a small town who stumble into the Christmas spirit? Rent a picture from earlier this year called The Ref. It's a lot better than this one.
Well, it is.
A lot better.
So is any picture. This is a pretty bad film. And I think what's really annoying is Dana Carvey and John Lovitz. These are guys from sitcom TV or from sketch TV, Saturday Night Live, and they're playing in a whole other movie, in a whole other style than Nicolas Cage, one of our very finest actors. In fact, the relationship that's hinted at in this film between Nicolas Cage and Machen Amick could be as appealing as it could happen to you with Bridget Fonda.
Sure.
These are two wonderful movie actors, and you've got these two TV performers who are winking and blinking at the screen, not realizing that their acting style is totally inappropriate for feature films.
They don't understand the long run. They don't understand the arc of a movie. If they can get through a line and it feels like a punchline, they're satisfied. And you're right about that, because in little tiny doses, like 3 words maybe, Dana Carvey's accent might be acceptable. But by the end of this movie, I mean,
oh, no.
Even Carvey himself probably isn't able to stand
the first reel, you're ticked off at them.
Okay.
And that's really a nice attitude to have to a comedy, angry. Coming up next, Ladybird, Ladybird, a film that asks a tough question. Does this mother deserve to keep her children?
You left the children alone in the room.
I know I shouldn't have left the kids alone.
If you don't cooperate, then we will have to take all your children into care.
A woman who was abused as a child finds herself trapped in an abusive relationship that leads to a tragic life for herself and her children in Ladybird, Ladybird, the new film from Ken Loach. And what a powerful drama this is. One of the year's best, I think, based on a true story of a woman who wanted to have a family more than anything, even though the state had declared her an unfit mother after she left her kids to go to a bar and a disastrous fire broke out in their home. That leads to scenes like this, where social workers and police take away a baby she's had with a new boyfriend. Chrissy Rock plays the mother in an unforgettable performance.
Oh, please, you can't do this. You can't do it.
You'll be able to see it.
No, you can't take it because it's all different. It's not the same. Taking things off. Taking things off a show. No, you've made a mistake. Please, you've made a mistake. Please, please don't.
Please, Maggie, we'll have a case conference. You'll be able to talk about it, but I have to.
But she persists in having children, which angers her friend and makes us question who is at fault here, the state or this stubborn woman.
What were you thinking of? Going in for another one?
Look, Marie, me and George are going to have a family.
If it takes for the rest of our lives to try, we're going to have a family. You've got your 2 kids, we've got no one. So me and George are going to have ours, whether you like it or not. Give us me back, I'm going home.
Ladybird Ladybird has the feel and the look of a documentary, and Chrissy Rock's performance is uncannily realistic. What impressed me about this movie is just how easily it joined me in its debate. I found myself angry at her and at the system in this remarkably even-handed Ladybird Ladybird, a terrific movie.
You know, it is a fabulous film with a great performance. And, you know, recently people have been talking about possibilities for Academy Award nominations, and they say there's a shortage of great female performances this year. If they don't nominate Chrissy Rock, they're not looking for great female performances.
No, we know they're not. It's an independent film. It's from Great
England
Britain
and so forth.
Yeah, I mean,
yes,
they don't,
right.
you know.
Now, the amazing thing about her is she was a barmaid who had never acted before. Her friends entered her in a stand-up comedy contest. The director saw her on stage telling jokes and cast her in this movie, and there was probably not an actress in Hollywood who could come within 10 miles of this performance. She is so strong here as this tortured woman, and you're quite right. The movie shows, it's not slanted. It's not slanted in the sense that everybody is wrong. The social workers are way too zealous, at one point practically taking the child right out of her womb and taking it away from her, and yet she at the same time seems to be very irresponsible too.
Absolutely. You know, in American movies, there's one group of people that is ignored constantly, the working class. We get very few films about the working class. Ken Loach in England, and England generally in its films, makes movies about the working class, and it's refreshing to see real people on the screen. When we come back, the story of Nostradamus, who could foresee the future, so he said.
That's him! That's Nostradamus!
Our next movie is named Nostradamus, and this is one of those movies so silly that with just a little more effort, it could have been made into a Monty Python sketch. It tells the story of the 16th century scientist and philosopher who also allegedly was able to foretell the future, and boy, does he ever in this movie, which comes complete with ominous prophecies of doom in the 20th century.
They will come on ships underwater and with unbelievable speed through the air, with fire and gas and invisible vapors that will destroy everything.
It must be difficult to foretell the future. Consider this scene, for example, where Catherine de Medici is just asking for trouble.
Each of your sons will be king of France, but you will outlive them all.
Then I will prepare myself for some terrible times ahead.
My favorite scenes in this movie come when Nostradamus looks deeply into a bowl of water and sees what looks like clips from old reruns on the Discovery Channel. What surprises me the most about Nostradamus, however, was the film's solemn and reverential tone, as if Nostradamus was a great religious leader like Jesus or Muhammad, and that if we could only heed his message, we could avoid catastrophe. Since almost everything he predicts in this movie has already happened, of course, it might be a little late for that.
Yeah, I think that maybe this project was doomed right from the get-go. I mean, if you're going to show these sequences, I mean, how else are you going to show them from the way that they did? But it generates laughter, frankly. And, you know, does this film contribute to any of our knowledge of that other period of time? Maybe in terms of censorship, maybe a little bit, but that's about 10 minutes out of the whole picture.
It has a little information. It has some nice sets, some nice costumes, and a little information about the role of women, however, which seems suspiciously anachronistic in that the woman in the movie is liberated.
Yeah, it's an inconsequential picture. Coming up next, our video pick of the week, a fine little scene performance by an actress who appeared in one of this week's movies.
Siskel and Ebert's Video Pick of the Week, brought to you by Orville Redenbacher, the first and last name in popcorn.
Now it's time for our Video Pick of the Week, and I'm going to go out on a limb and predict a big career for a young actress reviewed earlier on the show. She's Machen Amick, the sweet bank teller in Trapped in Paradise. I wondered who she was while I was watching the movie. She was so fetching. And then when I saw her name in the credits, I remembered who she was and how enthusiastically both Roger and I greeted her first major performance in Dream Lover, my Video Pick of the Week, a sleeping with the enemy type thriller in which Amick plays a woman who is not all she claims to be after marrying a young architect played by James Spader.
It's over.
Over, it's just beginning.
You're not kidding.
Rather quickly, Spader begins questioning Amick about her true identity.
Is your real name Sissy?
What?
Actors either have it or they don't in close-ups, and she's got it. You feel her emotional intensity, whether her character is good in Trapped in Paradise or bad in Dream Lover, and Dream Lover is my video pick of the week. Check it out on home video. Now let's recap the movies we reviewed on this show. We split on Cobb, Ron Shelton's biography of Ty Cobb, which tries to get at the man behind the myth. We both admire the strong performance by Tommy Lee Jones, but Roger felt the point of view was missing from the portrait. I think it's really clear. Another split vote for Tom and Viv about the troubled marriage between T.S. Eliot and his wife. Roger didn't think the movie adequately explained either character. I think it's a tremendous family drama. 2 thumbs down for Trapped in Paradise, the woefully unfunny comedy that wastes the talents of Nicolas Cage and Machen Amick. 2 more thumbs up, way up for Ken Loach's documentary like Ladybird Ladybird, with a brilliant performance by Chrissy Rock as a mother who wants to have another baby, but maybe she shouldn't. Academy voters, please take notice of this film. And finally, 2 thumbs down for the silly and at times laughably earnest Nostradamus. And 1 point again about Ladybird Ladybird. It opens next week in New York and then in January around the rest of the country.
Okay, that's it for this week. Next week we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including Disclosure, starring Michael Douglas and Demi Moore, in the story of a female boss who sexually harasses her subordinate, and Drop Zone, starring Wesley Snipes as a skydiving U.S. Marshal up against computer hacker Gary Busey. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
It's America's favorite jelly bean, Jelly Belly, now appearing in theaters and video stores with good taste. Jelly Belly beans, try them, you'll love them. Let Hooked on Phonics open the door to reading and discovery for someone special. This holiday season, give a gift that could change a life forever. Call 1-800-ABCDEFG. Discover the miracle, the original Bridals and Bows mane, tail, and hair shampoo, conditioner, and nail cream for beautiful, thick, healthy hair, bridals and bows. Vicks Vapor Inhaler for fast, effective relief of nasal congestion, easy to use, easy to carry, anytime, anywhere. Take a breather with Vicks Vapor Inhaler.